Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Zara. Good morning, Beatrice. How are you?
Good morning, Tom. Good. How are you?
So this is a great idea for a podcast for La Maestra, just to have like an informal chat about some of the new trends, some things that we're seeing that might be of good information to our staff, potential employees, applicants, and so forth. You know, because we've been really putting a lot of emphasis on recruitment, retention, and that led Beatrice and I to do this webinar that was really cool. It was nationwide webinar last week with the public housing and health, right? So Bureau of Primary Healthcare, a lot of different other agencies that were involved. And one of the topics that came up was about like why employees value working at La Maestra. And I think that some of the identified, answers from them were like, we love it because we can see that every day the work that we do contributes to
the community
and overall making the world a better place. Like they feel like they're doing something, not just coming to work.
Right.
And I think that I've always called it an intrinsic value. So people feel like at the end of the day that, that they've really done something that made a difference.
Yeah.
And that reminded me, I want to say like 20 years ago, we knew this fellow who owned a lot of nursing homes. And he was older, like, or was already like 85 or something. And I was like, Bob, how can you have the energy to still do this kind of work and make, more partnerships in the network? And, that's how we had met, right? And he said, he said, Zara, at the end of the day, when I lay my head on that pillow, I want to know that I have made some difference for somebody in this world. And he says, that's a feeling you can never beat. And that's so true, So anyway, I just thought I'd open it up and, some comments that maybe you've heard, or you, Tom, about what makes it different, even from La Maestra compared to other nonprofits or other nonprofit health centers. And they're all great. They all do good work. It's just like, what feels different about this organization?
Well, I can tell you I'm sure HR has a lot of examples, but when I interview people and when I talk to staff, I've been here for 12 years now. The biggest thing is not pay or where they're working out of. It's that they can make an impact in their job, that they're not just doing a 9 to 5, but they can actually see the results. And that's something that La Maestra promotes. And not only that, when you do a job well and you are focused on the mission, there's so many opportunities for advancement. And I've seen that with staff. They're so happy with, I just want to get my foot in the door, learn about healthcare, and we give them that opportunity. And then when they see a chance where they can contribute and have an impact and do things that are meaningful every day, then it's not work. It's not about me checking and following up on you and micromanaging. It's just about, you love to do these things. This is what's needed. And there's no need to just follow day by day what you're doing. It's just, it's in you. It's just, embedded in you. So that's one of the things I've seen. And I'm sure from an HR standpoint, there's a lot more to it, but it's such a great place to work because I can see the things that I'm doing every day in and day out, and I can see the progress. And that's something that's very rare. That's something that we're used to at La Maestra because I've been doing it every day, but at other positions, it's just not like that. We don't have this camaraderie. I know we say family oriented, we say that a lot, but it's very true. And so that leaves the element of not having to think about what you're doing day in and day out. It's just a natural progress because you have an end goal and you have something that's meaningful. So that's what I've seen. And that's from risk and compliance. It's from boring stuff. So I'm sure from an HR perspective, there's a lot more exciting things in the programs, but that's what I've seen. I know that makes a big impact on our staff.
Well, that's true, because when you start like you did, a department with just you, right? And now all of a sudden you have a department that's fully built out and you have people working that are in charge of different, sectors of your department. It's like, wow, you saw something that was nothing and now it's growing. And you're right. Where do you get that opportunity?
Right.
To where you don't just go to work every day and feel like, well, you know, if it wasn't me here, it would be somebody else and it wouldn't make any difference, right?
Right.
That's what I think makes people feel like they're not needed, or they're whatever they can offer is not a value,
Right.
right? And we value everybody's
Mhm.
contribution here. So what do you think,
I-
Beatrice?
I think aligning with the mission, like Tom said, when you align yourself with the mission, it doesn't feel like work. And like Tom said too, like everybody always says, oh, it's family oriented, or it feels like a family, and it's true. It's 100% true. It feels like I'm working with my family here. I feel like at the end of the day, I'm making a difference with helping people, especially walking up and down Fairmount. I don't think, well, a lot of human resources don't have an open door policy, and we have that here. So the employees feel comfortable coming in and talking to us about their problems. We try to help them not only just their employment side, but just as a whole. And having that opportunity to meet everybody and know each other, on a personal basis, it's nice. And I think I feel like the employees really, really value that. If they're having any issues with their family personally, we try to find a way and work around it. So I think that's very important.
Right. And I know a lot of the flexibilities that, many others created during COVID, we already had.
Yeah.
Like, single moms or dads that are raising their kids that need to be out at certain times, giving them that flexibility. And it was always worked very well. We just kind of like meet people where they are, whatever the situation in life is. We can't control that, what happens, and so it's really having that understanding and that whole component of or philosophy of treating people like you would like to be treated, like your family, right? Then means that of course you're going to keep the door open. You're not going to close the door in HR and hide from people because you don't have any empathy or alignment or connectivity with them. It's all about relationships.
Yes.
Now that doesn't mean that we don't have rules and policies and procedures, but I think that that openness and that ability to listen, but also be mindful of the organization's values and trying to work with people all the time is very important. So that's awesome. And I know that for recruitment and retention, we've done a lot of creative strategies, and some are, like they really are working well, like the whole career center that HR added for counseling with our staff, because many people might not even know that there are ways to, move vertically or horizontally. They don't know what options there are.
Right.
And what training there's or certification, and would that still have them, would they still have a pathway for employment with La Maestra? And so that's what our career center that we added during COVID is just the masters at sitting down with somebody and saying, like, what are your plans and what do you want to do in the future, and how can we at La Maestra help you get there and still bring those tools back to La Maestra and help us grow.
And we're still working.
Which
is very important to sustain their families. It's been really exciting because I have had a handful of employees now who have gone back to the career center and starting their pathway to a higher education, and they're very appreciative. And just the fact that they can still sustain their family, it's really important, especially nowadays.
Yes, and for example, I ran into one of the staff members the other day who is taking his certification for plumbing at night. That's through another partnership that we created, and it's awesome. He can work during the day.
Yeah.
He does, whatever his family obligations are, and he's working towards his certification for plumbing. So
what's great is you can go to school, learn on the job as well. I mean, there's not many places where you can do that. And that's what we did here. We talked about the open door policy, which was so important to me when I first joined. I remember I was really intimidated walking through the halls of La Maestra. It's a big, beautiful building. And and doing work every day. And then I remember you, Zara, coming by and saying hi to me, and you asked me to do something. Tom, could you work on this? And then afterwards, I just thought, wow, how great is it that the CEO knows my name, first of all, and then knows all the little details that we need to do as well as the overall picture. And I just found that really exciting and refreshing. And whereas normally it'd be a nerve-wracking experience, it was just very welcoming, and it makes you want to do more. I have things that I can contribute, and they're actually being listened to and being implemented. So I just remember that was one of the first things. I never told you that, but I was like, wow, I can't believe she knows my name. That's so great. And it just pushes you to do more. And learning on the job was another one of those things. Going to school, which I did at the same time, and then just learning my position, and how all the departments connect. So that was a really big factor for me. Education, really big.
And just having the opportunity to grow also. I remember that too. I kind of had the similar, you came in and I was new, and Dr. Zara came in and she's like, how's the new girl liking it? And I turned around and she was like, Beatrice, right? And I'm like, yes. And I was like, I like it. And I started off as an HR assistant, and then giving the opportunity to go to school, which I did here, coming to La Maestra, and growing, and it's been a really nice ride, and still growing and learning every day.
Yes, and so then these are examples of both of you being able to put your unique mark on the departments that you created that are part of La Maestra and our circle of care.
Yeah.
And you see how, your efforts and the departments and people that work with you, they're all integrated with the other units. Now, of course, as we get bigger, it's going to be hard to maintain that personal relationship. That's why it's going to take like all the management team to get involved, make sure people are feeling welcome. And I know that the providers are doing something that's really special. When new providers start, whether they're mid-levels or, other physicians, they get assigned to somebody who's been here longer, to one of our seasoned providers. And so they first used to call it shadowing, but now it's more mentoring. And it's just so that new provider has a few contacts to call or to text and say, hey, this is what I'm, coming up against now. What is the policy, or what would you suggest? Or, where can I learn more about this? Like when you have new providers, they might not know about all of our specialty clinics, like our liver clinic, diabetes, the centers for excellence for the elderly, and the asthma clinic, and all of those wonderful specialty services and imaging and so forth. So it really takes somebody, not just during orientation, which we've done a great job of. And I think maybe one of our next podcasts, we could talk about, like what are all of the useful pieces of information that somebody really wants to hear during orientation.
Right.
So it's not like so dry, and maybe some of these podcasts then could be part of their training that they sit and listen to, right? And then follow up with the questions and policies that they sign and so forth.
Yeah, especially getting bigger. I mean, I think we do cover a lot of it, especially the circle of care, and we do take them as a group and we walk them around 40, 60 and whatnot. But yeah, getting really into the meat and the root of the circle of care, so that they know what other programs there are. And
sure, well, when they start working it, and then they see, for example, in our electronic health records, they see the drop down for all of the social determinants of health, then they have to think, okay, so that's an internal referral, which means we must have a department that does food scarcity, like the food pantry, or the human trafficking assistance, or immigration services, or the youth program, and on, and the housing. And so it all kind of connects, and still working within this whole grassroots feel, because that's what it is. It's like grassroots is something that grows from within, because there was a demonstrated need that we're on top of through all of our staff, and the cultural liaisons, and people that have had shared lived experiences with patients, obviously live in the same communities, including our board, and then keeping pulse on those needs, and then responding to those needs and growing as is needed. And that's the feel. versus a top-down kind of business strategy that is then implemented regardless of is it like responsive to the needs or not.
Mhm.
Right.
And I think that's beautiful, and that's why it's exciting, and it's and it gives that opportunity for everybody to contribute, right?
You know, it'd be a great
That's
idea
great.
to have a podcast with all of our different sites as well, because each of our sites have different cultures. National City has their own culture, El Cajon, of course, Fairmount, and then within those sites, we have our different departments, and people have their own cultures. There's so much opportunity because it is grassroots. It's not just top-down organizational structure. There's so many
Right.
opportunities where we can just bring in people from National City and let us know about all the needs out there in that site. Talk to people in El Cajon, all of our sites. I think there's a lot of opportunity for this podcast.
And I think it's important too that we stay within that grassroots mind. Remember where we come from and, you know, align with the mission and keep it grassroots.
Mhm.
That's really important,
Yeah.
especially as we're growing.
Exactly. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you all for being here, and you guys have a great week, and I look forward to another Monday where we can pick another topic.
Thank
Very
you, Dr.
exciting.
Marselian.
Thank you.